Hey guys, my name's Gavin and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a Juice WRLD type beat using a variety of different techniques from other Juice WRLD songs, and I'm kind of all wrapping them up into one melody slash beat. I'd like to thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers on the channel. That means a lot to me. But yeah, we're going to keep growing. I'm going to keep going, and yeah, every video that hits 40 likes, I'm going to be releasing 3 free samples in the description for the next video. So yeah, every video 40 likes, you'll get that. So without further ado, let's get into things. Okay, so I say this in like every single video, but this is a pretty simple loop. It's just all about the post-processing and whatnot. So I started with this Omnisphere bell sound, and I'll play it without effects quick. I just put reverb on it. So it's basically, just look at this part right here, and now pretend like all of the notes are in a chord form like that. What I did is just have them all playing in that chord form, and I lowered the bottom note down one of these lighter gray notes at a time, and then I just looped that over and added a little bit of rhythm to it, and then that's basically the chord progression. So really simple, nothing really going on there that's too interesting. It just helps set the tone for the melody. And now here I have this F sharp and E going back and forth. And now this note, I feel like it did a really good job capping off that sequence and making it sound complete. And this is also the call of the melody, and this is the response. And you can argue that this part could also be connected to this melody. And now here, this is where the melody gets really interesting. So I have these D sharps, or I have all these notes playing just one after another, like this. Okay, so this note, it's not technically in the scale. You can see that it's darker gray. This means it's not in the scale, but it's a passing tone. So for this instance, it works, and it does a really good job at making it sound more dark and like haunted almost. And then I use this note to help transition back down to this F that starts the melody. And I find that if you play this A here, and then this F, the middle note here, really does a good job at like connecting these and helping them wrap back up. So yeah, same pattern, just looping again. I didn't randomize anything. All I did was add a little bit of reverb to make it sound a little bit more full. And that's it for that sound. A really simple melody. It kind of has that, if you've ever heard Maze by Juice WRLD, I was going for that kind of feeling, and that'll be more evident when the chords come in. And I also did something that was done in the song Robbery by Juice WRLD. I'm sure you guys all know that song. It's this little trick right here. These are just the chords. This looks a little confusing. Like, this is what it would look like from the first melody, but technically if you raise that up is an F major chord. We don't really need to be doing too much music theory here, but that's just what it is. And what I did, just played the chords that I created, and I took the top note of everything, like right here, raised it up an octave, and then in the chords I did a little chop. I just have these A's playing a bunch of times. I lowered the velocity so they gradually go up like a staircase, and I duplicated them all up top, and then I shifted them over using Alt and then right on my keyboard 1 or 2 times just to make this effect. So if you listen to the song Robbery, you'll notice that there's an effect similar to this in the melody from the piano, and that's just something that I was trying to mimic there. And after that, here I just have the root and then the A, and I also threw in an F. And yeah, that's what I did. After that, I moved on over. I have this duplicating, and now here, to try to kind of switch it up, I have an A sharp, or an A in the bass, but then I have this, which is an A sharp E and another A, or a C sharp E and then another A. And now technically this is what the chord would look like, an A minor chord, but we raised it up an octave to keep this A in our progression the entire time in that same octave, which makes it a little bit more fluent in my opinion. And then we also randomized all of that so it sounds a little bit different. And after that we have cassette on it, just making it sound a little bit more vinyl. Now moving on to the next sound, we just have a Contact Scarvey Rickenbacker bass that is playing the bass notes. Didn't add any effects on it, super simple. And now we have some vocal chops that I did. So it's definitely something that you can use in your melodies to add a lot more life to them and uniqueness to. Because it's your voice. No one else can really do this kind of stuff, but this is what this first one sounds like. So it sounds like really distorted and interesting. So to get that effect, I added an EQ that takes out a lot of the high end and a lot of the low end. Alter Boy, which gives it the distorted feel by putting this pitch up an entire octave. Reverb to kind of drown it and make it sound more like a pad. And then Guitar Rig, it reset right now, but it's the deep overdrive vocal preset. And that created that sound. And then after that, I have this one. It's pitched up another octave, so it's like super high pitched. And then to get that, all I did was put a EQ on it, taking a lot out of the high end, and then a reverb just to make it sound a little bit wider. So that basically is the loop. I'm gonna get rid of all these now. We can disregard these two pieces right here. This is after the loop is bounced out. I have this intro playing right here for the loop. And then I have everything starting to play right here. And then I just have one sound at a time playing so people can chop them up and arrange them how they would like. And that's that. I bounced it all out into one audio file. And the reason I render everything to WAV files before I do this is so I can chop off the ends so there's no reverb that's bleeding through. Because that's a nightmare when you're trying to chop it up if you're a producer. So after that, I just have this here. I pitched it down one semitone. And then I duplicated it underneath, raised it up an octave. And with that, you can see how it sounds now. I put EQ, taking out a lot of the high end. It sounds a little counterintuitive, but this is called parallel processing. It's when you duplicate the sample like underneath and add a different like layer of effects underneath it. Took out a lot of the high end and this added a lot of reverb to it as well, making it sound more like a pad. And I really tucked it in the background, as you can see. Then after that, I added this texture from one of my one-shot kits, not my one-shot kits, a one-shot kit that I used. And I find that doing this in samples really gives it a more sampled feel. It adds like a whole different element to the sample. So that's what it sounds like. It's turned down super far, but it's a bit like people talking, and there's like a key jingling sound. I don't know. I think that adding that to your samples can do a lot of cool things to them. So that's what the final loop sounds like. Oh yeah, and I added RC20 to the entire thing. After I lowered the mix so it's a little bit less present. And then after that, we can move into the actual beat. So normally I don't make beats. I'm more of a loop guy, but for this, it was an exception. So I just have this intro playing right here. And I have a riser, and it goes into the drums. So this is just the second part here, nothing crazy. But then I took this part right here, put it right here, made it unique, and then I put it down an octave, so it sounds like this. It's like a totally different switch up. Definitely something that you can use to your advantage when you're making beats and chopping up loops. I think that doing this is really unique. I don't really see it anywhere. I know that I do it. Yeah, it just gives it a whole different feel. Yeah, and those are basically the ways that I chopped up the loop after I started making the beat to give it a different feel. So then after that, we just have a basic clap, really basic hi-hat. That's actually one of my hi-hats that I made. I just have this roll right here. Then I layered these hi-hats with the hi-hat down at G sharp. Just add a little bit, I'm gonna say bounce, a little bit of rhythm to it. And I also randomized the velocities on my hi-hats. Something you can do to help just make your hi-hats sound a little bit more unpredictable. It's not really noticeable, but after that, this is where I kind of did drums themed along the lines of Empty by Juice WRLD. I think this the Sanctuary 808 was the one he uses. I could be totally wrong. Sounds similar. So I have this 808 pattern just following the bass notes. And now to add a little bit more variation, I took these A sharps over here and I raised them up an octave. And I feel like they did a good job transitioning down to the G sharps and saying like that similar octave. And then it just goes back down to the C sharp. So really simple 808 pattern, pretty standard. After that, this is what gives it the empty feel. It's this kick, the rack kick, except I boosted it. Over here, I'll show you how I boosted it. I press this wrench knob and then I just drag this up a little bit. I also have my velocities all the way up and I lowered it down to A sharp, or to A, which is something that Nick Mira does a lot when he makes his drums. And it makes the kick just sound a little bit lower. And overall, I feel like I did a good job mimicking like the way the drums sound from Empty. So yeah, this is what it sounds like. You can hear that distortion, the clipping. I'll explain how I did that in a second, but then I just have this basic rim. Alright, so now I'll explain how I did the clipping noise that Nick Mira does a lot, and it's really evident in songs like Empty. So, I have this clip, soft clipper right here, and we can get rid of that for now. You can disregard the cassette, that's from before. Basically, it doesn't really look like I even did anything, but this is lowered. The ceiling's lowered just a tiny little bit, which gives it that clipping sound. Like if you go on it, it's 0.1 decibels lower, and that compresses the drums a little bit and gives it just a little bit of a clipping noise. Nothing too crazy. Then after that, it was going, since you're compressing it, it can't go all the way up to 0 decibels. So I put the soft clipper on it to boost it up just a little bit and softening the clipping noise just a tiny bit. Nothing really too noticeable again, but it helps capture that vibe. That's basically how I did that. I hope that this tutorial was able to help you guys. Yeah, that's all I got. Comment down below what you'd like to see in the next video. And yeah, thank you again for 1,000 subscribers. Follow me on Instagram at gavinhadley_. And I feel like I'm just talking. So yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.